Hello?
Hiya, is that Zachariah?
Yes, it is.
Hi. So, how are you doing today? Thanks for agreeing to do this phone interview. It's great to be able to talk to you.
Oh, pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. So can I start with just asking you, tell us a bit about yourself. You're a spiritual teacher. Been working for a couple of decades in this role. What led you to the practice, and what do you do currently?
Well, the journey is the journey, and I've come very far. And a lot of the time, my students they have travelled very far and wide to the centre that I teach at, and I find that a lot of the students I work with, like myself, have gone through very tragic and important lessons in life.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So,
And
did you have tragic and important lessons in your life that's led you to this journey and this role in a way?
well, in the world, there's a lot of poverty, and it's all about finding inner peace and truth. I mean, I was very lucky to be born in a family in which they also had spiritual backgrounds.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I discovered that I have a gift to help others.
Oh wow. What sort of gift would you say that was? Do you find that you help a lot of people in your practice?
It's a real act of service and servanthood to give and bestow mystical truth upon my students. I work for many years on the practices of the path.
Yeah. What? So do you? Is this what you do for a living then? Do you get money from this?
We have donations from many of our students. Large sums come in, and we take it very seriously.
Yeah. So, what kind of advice would you give somebody just like coming into your organisation that feels pretty broken and lost? What would you? What sort of advice would you give them?
So the self is something that I encourage my students to go beyond. It's important that my students are broken down as much as possible to the point that they could be homeless, they could be in an abusive relationship. It takes any sort of catalyst for me to really allow them to see that they need to surrender.
Yeah.
Surrender and be beaten and broken down to the point they are nothing, and it's then in which the real spiritual work begins on the path.
Oh, okay. So, would you encourage somebody to get to that point of being completely broken?
That is the best stage for my students to be at. They need to believe that they are nothing and become nothingness. To feel utter despair, because it is when my students feel despair and longing for God, they are in a state of receptivity to the truth.
So, okay. So, the truth meaning your teachings.
Yes, I am. When I teach, it's not actually my teachings, it's the teachings of the path speaking through me, and God is a reflection within every human being. So when I teach, I am speaking a universal truth.
Wow. Okay. So, what kind of guy are you then? What sort of what do you enjoy other than this? What makes you tick?
I mean, I used to be a windsurfer. I found being among the waves very meditative. But
Yeah.
other than that, I mean, I'm an ordinary guy. I like to watch Netflix. Ocean's 11 is my favourite film. I don't know if you've seen it. And The Matrix is actually one of those films where a very dangerous film, to be honest, because it speaks about the ego and surrendering. and I find that film very prominent. So I like to sit and watch those films and eat Ben and Jerry's. I find that helps me to connect to being a human being, because a lot of the time I experience very high states of consciousness, so I find that it's really important for me to sometimes just, do the everyday mundane things.
Yeah, wow, okay. Definitely.
I think poverty of the heart, being in financial ruin, is often a good place for people. I mean, I personally have a lot of centres where people who are on the brink of their life come, and it's something I personally can't identify with, but I really do encourage poverty a lot.
And being completely broken in someone in order for them to get to the path you're teaching.
I mean, healing at the end of the day is redundant. Healing is just a lower self state at the end of the day, because it comes to the point where you no longer think of yourself. I don't want my students to even think they have a self, because that's egoistic. I want my students to realise that there's no truth but God. So as long as they have nothing going for them, no job, no income, then they know what it's like to be nothing. And then they know how to be truly free from the chains of this world.
Right, okay. That's really interesting to hear, yeah. I'm just on a path to really discover what it is to, for different people, the idea of being an evolved being. So what's your take on being an evolved being and that concept of someone that's... How does somebody evolve?
That's a very interesting question. I think that it all begins with the evolution of the soul. The evolution of the soul is something that you're born with. You have a destiny that is predetermined. And so when you are exposed to mystical experiences, it enables your soul to evolve. So that's why when I set these retreats, it allows people to reach higher states of being and therefore evolve into who they are supposed to be, their true self. A lot of students, this drives them to the point of complete insanity, because they can't grapple with the contradiction that they're not where they're meant to be. And I find that it takes a real seeker to be brave enough
Yeah.
to take that
Someone's
step.
really committed to the path that
Yes.
you're setting. What happens when somebody tries to or decides it's not for them anymore?
Oh, well, that's a very common thing. I've seen a lot of people. They just don't take appreciation and gratitude for what they've been given. I give a lot to my students.
Yeah,
They are given boundless amounts of help and support, albeit invisible. I mean, it's really down to the wayfarer to see what it is they need to do themselves. But if they can't see the hinted at advice and guidance that I give, they end up leaving. And good luck to them. I mean, may they find their way. But it has to really be done in a group setting, or else you can't find your own way back to God. You need a spiritual teacher a lot of the time.
Okay, so you're saying basically that you're a spiritual teacher and you need to have a guide and be in a certain setting, and everyone being in that belief. Would you say yours is the only true teachings?
There's a lot of cults out there, not to be trusted. People, the thing about my spiritual path is that you can have access to God in its purest form.
Okay, so yours is the purest.
My understanding is that the energy of the path is uncontaminated, unpolluted by consciousness, evil, dervish, weird gremlin
It's
unpolluted and uncontaminated by evil dervish gremlin creatures that can creep into the human psyche and try to manipulate on an energetic, angelic level. They come at you at all angles, so that can be really prevalent in other traditions such as Buddhism and Islam.
okay. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us on this program? Because it's very much. Yeah. Well.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean,
I didn't want to be a spiritual teacher. It was really landed upon me.
okay.
I would have much preferred to be an actor. It was a passion of mine, but all of that got washed away from me, and I became very joyless and, all those lower states of being. Like
Did you get
joy,
on well
happiness.
being an actor? Did you get any jobs?
It was really pushed on me at the time through my teacher. He was
At school?
yes, he was sort of profiling himself on his students, and I looked up to him a lot. He was a real pioneer at the time in theatre and opera, and I felt that I needed someone to look up to, and I think perhaps not having a father figure really made me
Did
want to
you
trust.
get any jobs though in
Oh,
acting?
jobs.
Yeah.
I don't. I would.
So
I
it can be
didn't-
quite a competitive industry, can't it? So you wanted to be
There
an
was
actor, but
one time. There was one time that I went to a job interview and I said my script at the time, and I was very harshly rejected and laughed at by by the panel. They told me I should never do this ever again, and it wasn't. It was the worst performance they had ever seen. So I found that very disheartening at the time.
so that's the reason why you went to. So that's the reason why you decided to become a spiritual teacher rather than an actor.
I went into a big hole and really had to look at myself from within and ask myself, what do I do with this pain, this loss of passion, loss of drive, loss of self? And I thought, I need to control something, the uncontrollable.
And control by control you mean of others?
Well, if I can't control myself, I can't control the energy, and therefore others will be also susceptible to huge failure and loss, and I want others to reach their full potential and purpose.
Okay. Well, it seems pretty clear that's what your aim is. So yeah, it's been great to talk to you, and thanks so much for agreeing to this call. And what else have you got planned today?
Well, I'm going around the streets to invite locals to donate to our charity. The foundation is extremely important that we create retreat centres, cabin spaces where people can come and spend time.
Oh, okay. So you're collecting money today?
Well, yeah, the money and also potential newbies. I'll see if anyone is looking particularly lost and distressed, and if they are, I'll inform them of the path and my teachings.
Right. That's very interesting, and I wish you all the best. And thanks so much for talking.
It was very, very nice to talk to you,
Yeah.
and I hope that it's inspired.
Definitely, it's
people.
very enlightening. Thanks so much. Bye bye.
Bye.